my channel. My name is Carly. This is Let's Read Into It. We are doing our January wrap up because the amount of books I read this month is outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. I don't think I've ever read this much to like start the year off. I usually have like a pretty good push in the middle of the year where I'm like summertime. I'm like, all the books, I'm here for it. I've not read this much in January before. I don't know what happened. I completely lost any sort of control and just read a bunch. So I believe when I counted, I read 16 books. Like, I don't think I've ever read that much in 1 month. But that's kind of like, let's say. So last year I read a total of 128 books. I'm kind of mad I didn't get to 130, just like those last two. I should have just pushed, but still. I read 128. So it's not unusual to read a lot of books, but it's been spaced out. Like, I don't think I've ever done this much. I read a lot off my TBR, which this year, a kind of, not necessarily a goal, but more so a rule, because I have a ton on my physical TBR. I really want to get through a lot of it. The rule we have in place, me and my fiance, I have to read 7 books off my TBR before I can get more. Not hard, seeing as I read 16 books and only 3 of them was not on the TBR. So I read a lot, but I also did a huge haul of like 15 books. So I read 16 books, but like added 15 books. I have a huge stack. Yeah. I read a lot. Let's get into it because I read a variety of stuff. I read a variety. So the very first book I like finished in the new year was Babel by R.F. Kuang. I haven't read her other series, which I believe is the Poppy Wars. I haven't read that, but I read this one. I did tandem, which you'll hear me like say I'll reference tandem reading a lot, which basically for me it means I will both read the physical and listen to the audiobook because, again, no self-control, because at work I listen to audiobooks, so I tandem read this. So I actually got through it a lot quicker than probably like other people will if they're just reading the physical book, because the like audiobook is like 26 hours. It's very long, but it was fantastic. I rated this 5 stars. I love the character development. I love the world building. I think when you have books that are this chunky, you kind of fear that you're like, it's going to be wordy. But everything in this was like necessary. It was necessary and amazing. Definitely, I recommend, if you do not have this on your TBR, go out and get it. It's fantastic. I already put the Poppy Wars series on my TBR of wanting to get because I want to read more by this author because I absolutely loved it. Next, I went into straight just like smut. Like, plot, what is that? I read the Never King series, or the Vicious Lost Boys series by Nikki St. Crow. So I have the Never King, Their Vicious Darling, and The Dark One. I thought this was just like 3 book series. No, there's going to be more in this. So there's going to be another book coming out, and they're not that big. So that's another thing. Like, some of these books I read were not that big. So like, you can get a lot. You can go through a lot. Plot, it's a Peter Pan retelling. I love Peter Pan. This made me question my childhood because these like straight sex. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of plot. Me and my friend were talking about it. She's like, it was bad. There was no plot. I'm like, yeah. I don't think that it's meant to have plot in this. Like, let's be honest. And then, of course, I went to Hyperfixation after reading that. And I was like, okay, Nikki St. Crow, let's see what else you got. And so then I read on Kindle Unlimited her Hot Vampire Next Door series, which, this is my iPad. I do not have a Kindle. But, so this is on her Kindle Vella. But she released seasons 1, 2, and 3 as ebooks. And season 4 is currently going on. and they're like 200 pages a book or a season, whatever, and it's good. This had more plot than the Vicious Lost Boys series. Oh, and I don't even think I even said it. So, pause. Let's go back to the Vicious Lost Boys. The Never King gave it 5 stars purely for smut. Do not go into this thinking that you're going to get a ton of plot and this whole backstories. No, you're going to get like straight Peter Pan. Why choose sex? It is why choose romance. So, yeah. 5 stars. Again, it's more like spicy than the first one. Again, not that much plot, but you get more in depth with the characters. This one, I think I rated 4.5, just because the plot was kind of like, not necessarily the plot, the POVs. In each of the books, you get a ton of POVs from different characters. A lot of the POVs in this one, I did not care for. I did not care to hear what Cherry had to say. Fuck off. I didn't care. So I did 4.5 stars because I was like, ugh, get out. Still spicy though. But yeah. But anyway, back to Hot Vampire Next Door. I like this a lot more. I liked it a lot more. There was more plot. I think I described it when I was talking about it on Book Talk as a more adult Vampire Diaries, because that's the feel I got. You get the brothers. This takes place in Midnight Harbor, I believe like Maine or something. But when you turn 21 in Midnight Harbor, if you're a human, you have to pledge to a house, whether that's a witch. A witch is like a house, like family. You either do a witch, a shifter / werewolf or whatever, or a vampire or fae. So they know these people exist. They know these like species like exist. And so Jessie, her family has always been pledged to Lockhouse. But all of a sudden one day, Bran from House Duval, that's what it is. Bran from House Duval comes into her, like the coffee shop she works at, and he's like, oh hey, by the way, your sister came in telling my brother to bid on you at her like 21st birthday where she pledges to the house or whatever. And she's like, what? And then like 2 pages later they're like banging. It's hilarious. It's like the plot is still not like top notch, but it's still sexy. I gave the entire, like, so far the seasons 1, 2, and 3 5 stars because the plot like continued. It was good, and it follows Jessie and Bran and everything, because it turns out she may not be human, but still very good. So it's on Kindle Vella right now if you want to go into, like, if you want more. I'm waiting for season 4 to come out, but still. So that was 3 books, and they were like 200 pages a piece. Fantastic though. And then I went into like more vampires. The Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert. Listen, this is another one where it's like, yeah, plot's there, but it's more sexual. Like, it's broken up into 3 like sections in this book. You have Sacrifice, Heir, and Queen. This is why choose. So she is getting with 3 other bloodline vampires, which apparently a bloodline vampire, their bite is like super sexy, like makes her orgasm, like that. So it's like, how do you even say it? Like, I think I gave it 4 stars because they'd be like, we could die tomorrow. And the guys are like, yeah, you know what we should do to help that? Bang. like I'm so stressed, and they're like, here's my dick. Like, it was ridiculous. But it was 4 stars. Again, don't go into this with like super like plot heavy. If you think there's a lot of plot, no. It's not as good as her Neon Gods book or Electric Idol, but still pretty good. Okay, so I finished A Deadly Education last year, like in October, and I was waiting to get the other 2 books. So I finished The Last Graduate and then The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. I loved A Deadly Education. Gave it 5 stars. I love The Last Graduate. I love the continuing character development we see with Elle, with Orion. A lot of stuff happens, but at the very end, that cliffhanger is like, what? It was very like, so I immediately had to jump into The Golden Enclaves. But I gave this 5 stars because I liked it, and I am here for Orion. I actually connected more with Orion than Elle, but I do like Elle because she, like, the first book, like, she's a badass. I loved it. The Golden Enclaves. I think I gave this 3.5 stars. I was so disappointed. I think the character development we got with Elle was completely like reverted or like reversed in this book. A lot of the stuff that dealt with Orion, he wasn't even there for. Like a lot of the stuff that happened in this book, I don't want to spoil it, was really frustrating, and it really just like turned me off towards the series, and it made me, I was like, I just need to finish this. I was so over it because I love the first 2 books, and you give me this crap. Like you see that meme where it's like seasons 1 through 6 with Game of Thrones, and then 7 and 8, and it's like shit. That's kind of what I felt. I was ready to be done with it. So that's how I felt about it. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I loved this book. I absolutely loved it. 5 stars for it. It was fantastic. I loved Elspeth. I loved her development. I love the whole idea of the magic being held in these cards, almost like tarot cards, and her and Raven like pretending to court, even though we're like, you guys want to bang, we get it, it's fine. But getting together to hunt these cards down together, I loved it. And the nightmare inside Elspeth, love it. So good. The second book comes out this fall, and I'm ready for it. It was probably one of my favorite reads, and I'll probably tell you which one is probably my favorite, but it's up there. So the Luminaries. And this is the Illumicrate like version. It's so pretty. I love it. So The Luminaries by Susan Dennard, another first in a series. Second comes out this fall. It was a 5-star for me. It was so good. Winnie Wednesday is turning 16, and she and her family have kind of been outcast for the last 4 years because her father betrayed her like clan. And so she decides on her 16th birthday, you are allowed to try out, like, go over these trials to become a luminary. And she decides she's going to do it to get her family's reputation back. And events happened. There's misunderstanding. And it's amazing. It was so good. Winnie's development and her, like, almost getting a backbone, like, finding herself and realizing, like, hey, like, and getting angry, like, hey, it's been 4 years and you guys are acting like, oh, we were gone and we just, like, came back to town when they had been there the entire time. It was fantastic. And her and Jay's relationship, I'm really excited to see where that's going to go in the second book. It's a really cute read. I loved it. 5 stars. Okay, so Bad Girl Reputation by Elle Kennedy. Love Elle Kennedy. She's one of those authors I will read. I will read every time. I really like her books. This is the second book in the Avalon Bay series. This is about Evan and Genevieve's / Jen's story. We meet them in the first book, or we meet Evan. You hear about Jen in the first book. It's a second chance at love trope, and it's amazing. I loved it. It's almost feel like a slow burn. There's a lot of redemption talk in this, talk about addiction, or talking about how to, I guess, get your life together, because they're at a point in their lives, their early 20s, trying to figure out what they're wanting to do. Like, Evan, to him, he had no idea why Jen left, and to him, he's like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. And she's like, you drink too much. I drank too much. We were toxic. Like, even though we love each other, we were toxic, not just for ourselves, but towards everybody else. And so I really liked the message behind this. So I loved it. It was a 5-star for me. And I think, yeah, there's a third book coming out. I think it's called That Summer Girl, or The Summer Girl. I don't know. It's going to be the third book in the series coming out this summer, of course. And I'm excited. I will read it again. I know there's a lot of people are like iffy about it, and a lot of people didn't really like a good girl complex, but I liked it. But I think it's because I like Elle Kennedy. I don't know. I will like her books. Okay. Let's talk Megan Miranda, because I love her. I will recommend her when people are like, what should I read a mystery? Megan Miranda. One of her books, All the Missing Girls, was one of my favorites last year. It was a 5-star read. It's fantastic, both audiobook and physical book. I tandem read that, and it's told like in reverse. Like, it's amazing. So I read The Perfect Stranger first. Oh, it was 5 stars. Megan Miranda is so good about writing a story that you have no idea where it's going to end. You have no idea. And I love that. Sometimes I hate a mystery where I'm like, okay, it's this person, and like by chapter 3. And so you're like waiting for your narrator, your main character, to get to that point. Here, you never know. You're like, is it the narrator? Like, who is it? And this one is very much that. Like, you have stolen identity. You have, like a new romance, like trying to start anew, all this stuff, trying to get a reputation back. Fantastic. I don't want to say much because I don't want to ruin it, because I want you guys to like go read this. It's fantastic. So Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda, 5 stars. The Girl from Widow Hills. This was another 5 stars for me. So if you remember the like baby Jessica like story, like back, like I was not born during that, but I remember it because we talked about it in school, where she's like down the well and like everybody was captivated by it. This kind of plays off this. So Arden Maynor, who changes her name when she turns 18 to Olivia, when she was little, she sleepwalks, and she got swept away into storm drains, and she was like lost for 3 days until she's found. And now it's coming up on the 20-year anniversary. She's trying to just forget everything. She wants to live her life. All of a sudden she starts sleepwalking again, and she wakes up, and the guy who saved her 20 years ago is dead in front of her. Like, and when I tell you guys, you will not see what's coming until like literally the last 5 pages. 5 stars. Like, honest to God, you guys, go get her books. This is the last one I finished this month. The Last to Vanish. This is one of her newer ones. I think it's the most recent one she released. So this takes place in Cutter's Pass, North Carolina, along the Appalachian Trail. My mom lives there, so I literally tell her all the time she needs to read Megan Miranda, because all of her books take place in like North Carolina and that East Coast area. My mom lives over there, and so I'm like, girl, read it. So Abigail works in the Passage Inn, where the last person goes missing, and she is confronted by the last person, like the guy's brother, who comes for answers. And she's like, it just happens. Like, people go on the trail who are inexperienced, they die of exposure, that it's what happens. And he's like this is like this, I think it was like the 7th person in like 20 years to go miss. Like, this is weird, which is not, but it is kind of weird. And she starts to question things, because it's a small town and people start closing ranks. And she starts to realize, she's only been there 10 years. She starts to realize, am I on the outside? Like, what is happening? And she agrees to help him, and things start unraveling. She starts to question everybody. And it's another one of Megan Miranda's where she just keeps you guessing till the very end. And it's so good. I tandem read all of Megan Miranda's books, which this book had a different narrator or like reader than her other ones, which wasn't bad, but it throws me off because I like the other one. Rebecca Ross reads all of her other books. I can't remember who read this one, but she was so good, but it throws me off. All of her other books are read by this person, and then she she started, and I was like, you do not sound like Rebecca Ross. Still wasn't bad, but still, this was another 5 stars. I don't want to say much about them because I don't want to ruin it, but she is such a good mystery writer. She has another one coming out, I think April. I told my mom, I was like, it's in the cart. Like, let's go. I'm here for it. Those are all the books I read in January. Oh my God, I read so much. I feel like a reading slump will hit me at some point in February, which is fine. I am currently reading, we have a couple days left of January, but still, I will not finish A Light in the Flame before February, so I'm not going to include it, obviously. But my next read, if you can see, is A Court of Silver Flames. I'm bang, bang, going into February with a lot. I'm here for it, but also I feel it's coming. So I was between 2 books for my favorite book of the month. I'm between One Dark Window and The Luminaries, because one, I just loved the storytelling. I loved it all. I loved just how I felt reading it. It felt really, really good. Even though I love my Megan Miranda, I cannot choose from them, and I'm not going to pick all 3. So there's their third runner-up, I guess. But the one I picked for my top book of the month was One Dark Window, because I absolutely loved just the world building, and I loved just how it ended. I loved how it ended. I love how this made me feel. I'm ready for more of Raven, because you get a little POV for Raven, I'm here for it. I'm ready for all of it. So this is my top book for January. I'm so excited for February, for my February hopefuls, which that will be another video. I don't do TBRs, I do my hopefuls because I'm a mood reader. But I'm very, very excited. I want to hear what you guys read and what you guys think. Have you guys read any of these? What your thoughts are on them? But that's what I read. If you are not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you are notified when I upload. I have a new video every Friday, sometimes more than one, who knows. But I will see you guys next time.